there is great deal of love, respect, shared experience, and that's what this fear, what underneath, that's what this is all about. Because of this love and respect for your loved one, you are always wanting to do the right thing for your loved one. You don't want to let that person down. So the other thing is that the fear underneath is about losing control. So as caregivers, we like, and just generally as people, we like to have control, but by being placed in this position as a caregiver, all of a sudden you are losing control. You don't know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, next week, the week after, the next month. And so there is this fear underneath about actually losing control. So what we would want to understand about caregivers, to actually understand about their fear, is the first thing to say is that these fears, they're normal. So you're not experiencing anything unusual. And not only in a caregiving situation, but when anyone is experiencing uncertainty, there is this fear, the fear of the unknown. But particularly in this caregiving role, in your responsibility for your loved one as a caregiver, then there is this underlying fear, and it is normal. It is, although no one is sharing it or talking about it, most caregivers actually feel it. The other point and critical point is, just because you are experiencing this fear, it doesn't mean you are failing. You are not failing. You're doing your best for your loved one. You're providing love and care for your loved one. And so you are not failing. This is really critical and important to understand. And the other point is, because you have this fear, it actually goes to the heart of the matter, because you wouldn't have this fear if you didn't love and respect and care for your loved one. So by actually naming it, by actually calling it out, by doing that, you are actually reducing the fear. So what is it about caregivers' fear that people rarely say out loud? The first thing is that almost all caregivers experience this fear. They may not talk about it, they may not articulate it, society may not talk about it, but as caregivers, most caregivers experience this type of fear. And the fear goes to a number of other things. The fear is of being overwhelmed, because you, as caregiver for your loved one, are forever providing care and being responsible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Then there's this fear of being constantly overwhelmed. It's all consuming. And as a consequence of that, you understand that you only have so much energy. You have your limits, even though you're doing your very, very best, but you still do have limits. And you worry, the fear is you worry about what will life be like after your caregiving responsibilities end. So what is anticipatory grief? it is basically grieving for someone who is still alive. I know that sounds weird and strange, but you're grieving for your loved one who is still alive. And you're also grieving because you love your loved one, but you gradually see the loss of the person who you once loved. You still love them, but you are grieving the loss of the person 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And the relationship between the two of you is evolving and it's changing. And sometimes it changes quickly, and sometimes it changes slowly. But the nature of the relationship changes. So the husband or the wife or the partner, a friend, soulmate, but now the relationship over a period of time, you become the caregiver, and the relationship actually changes. And the other point is that you're not only mourning and grieving for someone who's alive, but you're also mourning and grieving for the memories that you once shared. Remember, in most cases, you have shared most of your life with your loved one, whether it be uh, 20, 30, 40, even 50 or 60 years. So there's a significant amount of shared memories, and you're grieving for them. So when does the grief actually start? It starts earlier than you think. And it kind of starts when you start to see the personality of your loved one change, even in small, even if in small ways. And it's at that point, you may not be aware, but it's at that point, if you look back, it's at that point when this kind of uh, grief starts to kind of emerge, or you start to think about it. Because all of a sudden, over a period of time, your loved one, their their communication, the way they communicate with you changes. The way they speak to you, it changes. The way they recognize you, it changes. And over a period of time, the relationship that you once had, it changes and it shifts. And now, all of a sudden, over you now not necessarily the partner, the wife, the friend, but you are now their their caregiver. So why is this grief so confusing for caregivers? Well, the obvious answer to that question is because your loved one is still alive. He or she is still physically present. And the problem is that society doesn't recognize this form of grief. It only recognizes grief once that person passes away. So it's really very, very strange, but caregivers feel that they shouldn't be grieving. They shouldn't be grieving for their shared memories, for the things that have happened in the past, because their loved one is still present. And it causes inner conflict, and it causes extreme mixed emotions.